Hey everyone, Mike here from Videomaker, back with another Q&A session. Okay, this week we got an email from a guy named Mikey B. Mikey says, I've recently purchased a Tiffin CPL filter, that's a circular polarizing filter, for use on my Panasonic HCX900M camcorder. Only tried it briefly, but I'm unable to note any difference in the image quality through the viewfinder. I assume I need to use the HCX900M in manual because when in auto, the camera is correcting any changes made by the addition of the CPL filter. Is this correct, or have I missed something? Great question, Mikey. Actually, yeah, you should use it in manual, but not necessarily because of the CPL. It's actually, you should just use it in manual because you should always use your camera in manual when you're shooting video. But beyond that, let's just talk briefly about what a polarizing filter is supposed to do. Really, there are two main benefits to using a polarizing filter. One is it makes skies a little bit more blue, and the other is it removes reflections from reflected objects like car windows or any kind of window for that matter, or water or whatever it's going to be. Okay, so now we should talk about how to get those results, as in you want bluer skies and you want your reflections to not be there. You want to be able to see through glass or see the object and not a reflection. Now this works for any kind of camera, not just your camera. The main thing you need to do with a circular polarizing lens is, first off, look through the viewfinder and actually physically turn the polarizer. And you'll see, based on 90-degree angles, where the polarizer is taking effect. And if you shoot a shot where there's sky, you can turn it and you can actually see the sky darken. Same thing with reflections. Just turn it 90 degrees at a time and you'll start to see the reflections just disappear. Now they won't go away entirely, but they will start to fade back. So if you're not seeing any results, that's the first thing you should try. If you're specifically looking for bright blue sky, though, sometimes turning it isn't going to solve the problem. And that's because the circular polarizer will not make up for an overexposed sky. Now, a lot of modern cameras have face detection when you're using them in auto mode, and that may be what your camera's doing. So if your camera is trying to expose for a human face, it may turn the exposure up and therefore blow out the sky entirely. So your sky essentially appears as pure white. Now there's a couple ways to address this issue. One is you can just turn the exposure down, either close down your iris or basically turn the gain down, and it'll darken your subject, the human face if that's what you're shooting, but it also bring the sky down to a level where it's not completely blowing out the highlights. And at that point, turn that polarizer and see if the blues start coming back. Now the other thing you can do is actually stack another filter on top of it, a filter called a graduated ND filter, or neutral density filter. Now, we always talk about how neutral density filters are essentially sunglasses for your camera. It just darkens the image that comes in. Well, imagine a graduated filter as a pair of those 1970s sunglasses where it's dark on top and then it gets lighter as it goes down. The idea with a graduated ND filter is it's dark on one side and light on the other, and it sort of softly transitions from one to the other. So when you're shooting something like a landscape or anything with a bright sky, you can just turn the graduated filter so that the dark side's on the top and the light side's on the bottom, and you don't have to mess with your exposure, it just darkens the sky. And once the sky's a little darker, you can work with your polarizer to make it nice and bright and blue. So that's the basics of using a circular polarizer. Just, again, turn it to see if you can see some results, and also turn down your exposure, and you should be fine. So one last thing I'll say on this topic regarding your viewfinder, since you mentioned you can't see the changes in your viewfinder itself. In general, you should learn to never trust the viewfinder specifically. So if you have this feature on your camera, use it, which is if you can turn on the histogram overlay, if you have a histogram overlay, it'll allow you to see if your highlights are actually clipped off in the sky or if they come to a gradual slope, in which case you may be able to recover some of those highlights in post-production. In fact, we recently posted our review on the GH4 and found that if you look at some of the footage, they appear to be clipped on the top end. The highlights are quite bright, but we found that we could actually recover quite a bit of them in post because it shoots super white, so the data is there. It just needs to be pulled back in post-production. But again, even that technique is assuming that you've already taken the steps of turning the circular polarizer so that you can try to see if there's any results, and even if you can't see, looking at the histogram to see if there's any results as you turn that polarizer. So that's it. I hope that answered the question. If you have any questions for us, you can ask it a number of ways. One, post your question in the comments of this video below. Or you can tweet us on Twitter, we're @VideoMaker, or you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/videomakeronline, or you can email us at editor@videomaker.com. And we collect all these questions and we pick out the good ones for these videos. So shoot us a question and hopefully we'll answer it for you in a coming video. As always, I want to encourage everyone to sign up for our email newsletter if you're into getting video tips in your email inbox. We send out full articles, full tutorials all the time, so you can sign up for that just by clicking the link, and we'll get you hooked up. Again, I'm Mike with VideoMaker. Thanks for watching.